If you're looking for a podcast about perfect lives, perfect people, and those quick, easy fixes for everything, this probably isn't the one for you. But if you've ever wondered why you feel things so deeply and why other people's moods seem to land in your body, or why being sensitive sometimes feels exhausting, then you are in exactly the right place. This podcast isn't about becoming somebody else. It's about understanding yourself a little bit better.
Welcome to We Are All Fine with Heidi Lester, counsellor and psychotherapist with over 25 years of experience. Together you will explore mental health, emotional awareness and growth with kindness, clarity and practical guidance.
Hi everybody and welcome back to We Are All Fine with me, Heidi Lester, a counsellor. And today I want to talk to those of you who have been told or have told yourself that you are too sensitive. Maybe you've been called dramatic or told you take things too personally. And in my therapy room, I see people who feel like they are walking around without skin, so vulnerable. They'll walk into a room and instantly soak up everyone else's stress, anger or sadness until they feel way too heavy to move. Familiar? If that's you, I want you to stop calling yourself sensitive. The truth is, you probably just don't know the difference between being empathic and emotional overwhelm. And in my work as a counsellor, I see so many people burning out because they think their gift of feeling is actually a curse. But feeling deeply, that's not the problem. The problem is a lack of emotional scaffolding. Today, we're going to look at why you're catching other people's moods like you do a nasty cold and how to stay compassionate without losing yourself in the process. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you are so welcome. Make yourself comfortable. From my counselling years to your listening ears. Before we go any further, I think it's really helpful to get clear about something that often gets mixed up. That's the difference between empathy and emotional overwhelm. Because the two can feel very similar, but psychologically, they're actually quite different. Let me explain this with an image. So imagine there's a canyon between you and another person. They're standing on one side of the canyon and you're on the other. You can see them really clearly and you can see that they're struggling. Maybe they might be looking a little bit upset, or maybe they're angry, or maybe they're hurting in some way. Empathy is like building the bridge across that canyon where you can walk part of the way across, you can listen, understand, and you can offer them support. You might even hand them a bit of a rope or something to help them climb out of whatever they're dealing with. But, and this part is really important, your feet are still on your side of the ground. You know where you end and you know where they begin. Now that is healthy empathy. You can care really deeply about somebody without losing yourself in their experience. But sometimes that bridge collapses. And when that happens, the canyon, it disappears. So instead of standing on your side and witnessing their emotions, suddenly their emotional water floods you. You're not just aware that they're anxious, you are now feeling that anxiety too. You're not just hearing about their anger, your heart is racing with it. This is what psychologists call empathic distress or emotional overwhelm. It's when the boundary between your emotions and their emotions becomes blurred. Our nervous systems are actually wired to do this. Thousands of years ago, this ability helped humans survive. If somebody in your tribe suddenly became terrified because they saw a tiger, you needed to feel that fear immediately too. It helped everybody react quickly and ultimately stay alive. But in modern life, that same system is always going to backfire. Instead of reacting to a tiger, you might end up absorbing your colleague's stress, your partner's frustration, or even that tension you feel in a room. And when that happens repeatedly, you can end up carrying emotional weight that was never really yours to begin with. And here's the difficult part. When you're drowning in somebody else's emotions, you're actually less able to support them, because now both of you are struggling to stay afloat. So how do you know when empathy has crossed the line into emotional overwhelm? The first place to notice this is in your body. Your body is usually much faster at recognizing emotional stress than your mind is. Healthy empathy, it tends to feel open. Your breathing, it'll be steady, calm. Your chest, it will be relaxed, and you will feel present with the other person while still feeling like yourself. Now, overwhelm, it feels very different. Your body is going to feel it somewhere. It'll be tight. Your shoulders are going to creep up. The tension will be here. Your stomach will be in that awful twisted knot. And sometimes people even realize they've been holding their own breath without noticing it. You'll feel it tight here. These are all signs that your nervous system has shifted into a stress response. It's as if your body has decided that the other person's emotional state is something you need to defend yourself against. I remember working with a primary school teacher many years ago who described herself as extremely sensitive. But by the time she finished work each day, she was completely and utterly drained. She'd go home, close all the curtains and hide, sit in a dark room for hours just to recover and recalibrate. Even small sounds like the kettle pinging off or boiling flooded her system and made her feel overwhelmed. You guessed it, she thought there was something wrong with her. She believed she was weak or simply just not cut out for the job. But when we looked at this more closely, something else started to become clearer. Of course she wasn't weak. She was spending the entire day holding the emotional energy of over 30 children. Children who'd fallen out with friends, children who were anxious about things happening at home, and children who were upset, frustrated, or overwhelmed. Hello to all those teachers out there. Now, without realizing it, she was absorbing all of that emotional energy. She wasn't too sensitive. Actually, she was one of the strongest women I've met. She simply didn't have a filter. She was like a sponge that never ever got wrung out. So the question becomes this: how do we keep our empathy, our kindness, and our compassion without becoming emotionally exhausted? The goal isn't to become colder or less caring. The goal is to build a healthy filter. So I have a few simple tools that are going to help you right away. One helpful tool is visualizing an actual boundary. When you're listening to someone who is upset or is anxious, overwhelmed, imagine there's just a very clear pane of glass between the two of you. You can still see them really clearly. You can still hear them and respond with your care. But their emotional energy isn't penetrating or entering your space. Think of it like rain banging against a window. You can see it, but it doesn't get you wet. Another helpful tool is something called a psychological sigh. After an intense conversation, your nervous system may still be holding on to the stress. So try taking 2 quick breaths in through your nose and then 1 slow, long breath out through your mouth. It sounds simple, but this breathing pattern signals to your body that the stressful moment has passed. And it helps you and your nervous system settle down again. And finally, there's a very powerful question you can ask yourself in emotional moments. Put this in your toolkit. Whose feeling is this? If you were calm a few minutes ago and suddenly you can feel anxious after speaking with somebody, just pause for that moment and check in with you. Is this actually your emotion? Or have you absorbed something from the environment, which we often do, around us? Just asking that question can help your brain re-establish that emotional boundary. Being a sensitive person is never a flaw. I think in many ways it's a huge strength. It means you're noticing those subtle shifts in people and you pick up on emotions that others might miss. You will care deeply, deeply about the people around you. But sensitivity needs support. Think of it like a camera with a really powerful lens. That lens can capture incredible detail, but without a steady tripod, the image becomes shaky and blurred. Learning emotional boundaries is that tripod. So instead of apologizing for being sensitive, start focusing on protecting your emotional energy. You can be a caring, compassionate person without carrying everybody else's emotional weight. Hope that was helpful. Next week, we're going to talk about something closely related to emotional energy, and that is anger. specifically why so many people are afraid of their own anger, and why what we call being nice is sometimes just anger that has been quietly shut down. If this episode helps you, please share, review, and save the show. And I also want to hear from you. Email me at HeidiWeAreAllFine@gmail.com. I read every single message, and I love drawing on all of my years of experience to create exactly the right tools you need. So send me any ideas and topics you have for future shows. You can also find me on social media for your daily dose of applied therapy skills and psychoeducation you can rely on. So search me, Heidi Lester, Therapy Applied. Until then, remember, be yourself. You are no one else, and you are exactly where you need to be. Take care, have the most fantastic week, and I'll join you next week when we get down and dirty with anger. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional therapy, personal diagnosis, or medical advice. These opinions are personal and I do not guarantee the accuracy. Listening to this podcast does not create a counselling relationship, and please always consult a qualified mental health professional with any concerns.